Hi, I am Jasmine and 27. And 2 weeks ago, I bought the company that fired me. Yeah, read that again. The same company my dad built from scratch. The same company that told me I was too emotional to lead. I own it now. And the look on their faces? Worth every breakdown. Every night I cried on the floor. Every time I screamed into my pillow because I couldn't scream at them. So if you've ever been called too much, or made to feel like you'd never be enough, buckle up, because this is how the black sheep came back and took the whole damn farm. Before I continue my story, I'd love to know where you're watching from. Drop your location in the comments. Hit that subscribe button and stick around, because it gets wild. Okay, so, rewind with me for a sec, because to understand why this hit so hard, you gotta know where it all started. I didn't grow up poor. We weren't struggling. We were the shiny family in the neighborhood with the expensive SUV, the backyard pool, and the perfectly trimmed hedges. From the outside, we looked like some kind of success story. Came from nothing, built a tech company from scratch, hired his friends, scaled fast, won awards. Local newspapers loved him. He was like a motivational quote in human form. But inside the house, different story. He didn't talk. He preached. He didn't ask how you felt. He told you to be grateful. And emotions? They weren't just discouraged. They were disrespected. My mom was the only soft place in the whole house. She'd sneak me extra food when I stayed up late coding. She'd rub my back when I cried after school. She saw me. But she also kept quiet. Because if you spoke up too much in that house, you'd be labeled difficult. And the worst thing you could be in my family wasn't wrong. It was inconvenient. Now, let me tell you about Eli, my younger brother. Super smart, top of his class. Teachers loved him. Never raised his voice. Never questioned anything. He was what my dad called CEO material. Me? I was the weird one. I wrote poems in my phone notes. I cried watching Pixar movies. I asked why way too often. And yeah, I was emotional. But that didn't mean I wasn't smart. I got into Stanford. Graduated top 10%. Designed an award-winning app for burnout tracking in undergrad. But none of that mattered to my dad unless I learned to toughen up. When I joined his company after school, I really thought it'd be different. Like, okay, maybe now he'll respect me. Maybe now he'll actually see me. He made me head of product, mostly, I think, to make himself look progressive. Female founder's daughter joins the team. The PR was cute. But inside, it was brutal. They talked over me in every meeting. Dismissed my suggestions. One exec actually told me, you take things too personally. And worst of all, when I pitched a project, this AI-based emotional health tracker for employees, my dad called it a waste of engineering. 2 months later, Eli pitched the exact same thing, same concept, same logic, same damn slides, which he pulled from my deck. And my dad? He clapped, praised him, greenlit the budget. I sat there frozen. Like, am I being pranked? Are you seriously pretending that didn't just happen? But nobody said anything, because nobody ever said anything. I confronted him that night. I wasn't screaming. I wasn't dramatic. I just said, why would you do that? He looked at me and said, dead serious. You're too emotional to lead anything. And I swear, in that moment, I left my body. Like, after everything? After the degrees, the hours, the loyalty? That's all I am to you. A liability? I was fired the next morning. No meeting. No email. Just a locked work account and an HR message that said your position has been dissolved. They even cleared out my office before I arrived. And the worst part? My mom didn't fight it. She just said, maybe it's for the best. He's under pressure. And Eli? He texted me. Hope you're okay. This wasn't my call. Which, honestly, made it worse. I packed up my apartment in silence. No backup plan. No savings. Just a head full of shame and a heart that wouldn't stop racing. For the first time in my life, I felt like I had no one. Like maybe they were right. Maybe I was too much. Maybe I was the problem. And now? Now you're caught up. Now you know what it looked like before the comeback. Before the glow up. Before the buyout. So if you've ever been ghosted by your own family, if you've ever been cut out of the room you helped build, if you've ever sat on the floor wondering how it all fell apart so fast, same. But trust me, you're gonna want to hear what happens next. Because what they buried me with, I used as fuel. And they had no idea what kind of wildfire they started. Yeah, we're still here, still unpacking this mess. You already know how it ended. But let me take you back. Back to when I actually thought my family loved me. I used to think we were a team. The kind of family that rooted for each other. You know, matching ski jackets, inside jokes, stupid nicknames like Jazzy Bear. We lived in this 2-story stucco house in Los Gatos with a lemon tree in the backyard and an Alexa that never worked. My dad would cook breakfast on Sundays, eggs, overdone toast, always burned, bacon. Mom would hum show tunes while folding laundry. My little brother Eli? He'd follow me everywhere like a puppy. From the outside, we were like Apple commercial perfect, tight-knit, golden. Like if you took a picture of us on vacation, people would be like, goals. But looking back now, I think I just wanted it to be that way. My dad, Rajiv, was larger than life. You couldn't ignore him even if you tried. He filled every room with his ideas, his goals, his expectations, especially for me, because I was the firstborn, the legacy, the one who had to carry his genius forward. He taught me chess at 5, got me coding by 9. By 11, he had me doing mock pitch decks at the dinner table. Every compliment came with a challenge. You got an A? Try for the A+ next time. Great talk. Now read it again with more authority. I thought it was love, but maybe it was performance. Mom was the opposite. Soft, quiet, always trying to smooth things over. She'd leave little notes in my backpack. You're enough. Breathe today. You're not your dad's shadow. She saw me. The real me. The one who cried when my code didn't compile or froze during math team presentations. She never called me dramatic. She called me human. And then she got sick. Really sick. I was 19. I was in the middle of midterms when Dad called. She collapsed. Get home now. Turns out it was stage 3 breast cancer. Aggressive. We spent the next year in and out of hospitals, watching her lose weight, hair, energy, everything. And something broke in Dad during that time. He stopped talking, stopped smiling, started sleeping in his office, not the bedroom. He'd go days without checking in with us. Like if he ignored it, it'd go away. And me? I stepped up. Doctor visits, prescription pickups, researching trial meds. I even deferred a semester to take care of her. But to him, it was like I'd abandoned my future. Like caregiving was weakness. She died on a Tuesday. At 3:12 a.m. I was holding her hand. Dad wasn't there. He said he couldn't watch her go. He didn't even cry at the funeral. Just shook hands, gave a speech, and went back to work 2 days later. I cried in the bathroom for hours. Because suddenly, I wasn't his daughter anymore. I was a mirror of everything he hated about emotion. After she died, the house changed. Eli barely talked. I'd hear him crying at night through the walls. Dad became more of a CEO than a father. And me? I felt invisible. Unless I was doing something useful. A project. A presentation. Being productive was the only way he'd even look at me. That's why I joined his company. Not for the job. Not for the resume. For him. I thought maybe, just maybe, if I impressed him enough, he'd finally see me. But spoiler. He didn't. Instead, he turned the rest of the family against me too. Eli stopped returning my texts. Aunties started whispering. My uncle told me once. Your dad says you're not stable enough for leadership. Not smart enough. Not tough enough. Just too emotional. And every time they said that, I heard Mom's voice in my head. You're not his shadow. But God, some days I wanted to be. Because at least shadows stay close. You ever get that feeling like you're trying so hard to make someone proud, and they don't even see you? That was my life, for years. And then came the betrayal. Okay, so when I joined the company, I didn't expect balloons or confetti, but I did expect to be treated like a human. Like an employee, at the very least. Nope. First day, they stuck me in this weird windowless cubicle 2 floors below the main exec team. No onboarding. No welcome lunch. Not even a "we're glad you're here." Just a laminated badge and a passive-aggressive email that said, "Your father says you'll figure it out." Cool. Love that for me. I tried so hard to be professional. Show up early. Stay late. Over-deliver on every single project. But no matter what I did, I kept getting shut out of meetings I was supposed to be in. My manager, who literally used to babysit me when I was a kid, talked down to me like I was clueless. People whispered when I walked by. And when I asked for feedback, they told me I was too intense, that I took things personally, that I was too emotional to lead. There it was again. Emotional. Like that word was poison. But I kept pushing. I had this pitch, this whole research-based idea on integrating mental wellness metrics. into our software. Real data. Real results. It could have saved the company millions in burnout-related turnover. I prepped a full deck, sent it to the team, asked for a spot in the monthly product review meeting. And guess what? They gave my slot to a guy who literally copied my exact idea, changed the title, and presented it as his own. No joke. Word for word. He even used my slides. And what did my dad say? That's the kind of initiative we need around here. I sat there, smiling through tears, while the whole room clapped for him, while I faded into the wallpaper. Then came the firing. HR scheduled a performance review on a random Wednesday. I walked in thinking maybe I'd finally get a chance to speak up. Instead, two people in suits, papers already printed. We're restructuring your role. It's not about you, Jasmine. Your father agrees it's for the best. I just sat there, blinking, trying to breathe. They didn't even let me pack my things. Security walked me out like I'd stolen a server or something. Like I was dangerous. And guess who didn't say a word? My dad. I didn't go home after that. Because there was no home. The house that used to feel safe, he'd changed the locks. Literally. I tried the key. It didn't work. Texted him. You need space right now. So do I. That was the whole message. No, I love you. No, let's talk. Just space. I slept in my car for 3 nights. Parked outside a 24-hour diner. Surviving on coffee and bagels and shame. The worst part? Eli didn't call. My aunts, all silent. It was like I'd been erased. And the friends who knew what was going on? They said the worst thing you can say when someone's grieving. Maybe it's for the best. Like losing your job, your family, your home, all at once. Was some kind of personal growth retreat. No, it was betrayal. Flat out, heart-crushing, dignity-stripping betrayal. And I didn't even know the worst was still coming. 'Cause a month later, I found out something that made me want to scream into the void. Remember how I helped Mom with her treatment bills? How I gave up half my paycheck, took loans, deferred school? Turns out, she had a secret bank account. One with over $300,000 in it. And guess who inherited all of it? Not me. Eli. My brother. The same brother who hadn't texted me once in 6 months. He used it to buy a condo in downtown San Jose. Posted a new chapter photo on Instagram. Caption. Grateful for what Mom left me. She believed in me. Red heart. I stared at the screen. Numb. Then shaking. Then furious. Because no one ever told me. No one thought I deserved to know. And the only person who might have protected me was already gone. That's when something inside me snapped. Like, this wasn't just rejection anymore. This was war. They didn't just kick me out. They rewrote the story without me in it. And for a while, I believed them. I believed I was the failure, the disappointment, the emotional mess. But not anymore. And this? This was the part where I almost disappeared. After the firing. After the locks were changed. After I found out my mom's money went to Eli and not me. I cracked. I don't mean like I cried and then rallied. I mean like I broke. Like, couldn't get out of bed. Couldn't eat. Couldn't look at myself in the mirror without flinching. I moved into this dingy studio apartment over a liquor store in Oakland. It smelled like mold and regret. My mattress was on the floor. No furniture. Just me, my laptop, and a bunch of unpacked trauma. I lived off $37 a week. Instant noodles, dollar store peanut butter, and tap water. Some nights, I'd open my banking app just to count the zeros. Not the good kind. The terrifying kind. I stopped calling people. Stopped replying. Ghosted everyone. Because what was I supposed to say? Hey, my dad thinks I'm useless. My family forgot I exist, and I just had to sell my MacBook to pay rent? No. You don't share that. You suffer in silence. Because that's what girls like me are taught to do. Look pretty. Be polite. Don't make it awkward. I was so tired of pretending. There was this one night. Mid-November, freezing cold. I'd missed 2 freelance deadlines because I couldn't think straight. I hadn't showered in days. I was wearing the same hoodie I got fired in. I sat on the floor, holding my mom's old scarf. Just holding it. It still smelled like her lavender and coffee. And I said out loud, I don't want to do this anymore. I wasn't saying it to be dramatic. I wasn't trying to scare anyone. No one was even there. I just meant it. I didn't want to wake up and feel this way again. I didn't want to live in a world where being me, sensitive, passionate, emotional, meant being discarded like trash. And then something happened. Something tiny. But it cracked the darkness. I found this notebook, buried in a storage box under some old blankets. It was from college. My senior year. The year I used to dream big and believe I could change the world. And on the first page, an idea I wrote during a 2 a.m. coffee binge. What if tech could predict burnout before it breaks you? What if it could track subtle emotional shifts and intervene before the breakdown? What if machines could learn empathy? I stared at it for like an hour. No music, no distractions. Just this weird heartbeat of hope pounding in my chest. Because I remembered. I wasn't always this broken. Once upon a time, I had a vision. The next day, I sold my old guitar on Craigslist for $120. Used it to pay for a domain name and a cheap WordPress theme. And I started building. Not for investors. Not for my dad. Not for claps or clout. For me. For the version of me that sat on the floor and whispered, I don't want to do this anymore. Because what if no one ever built that thing that could have saved her? What if I was supposed to build it? But don't get it twisted. This wasn't some magical turnaround. I still had breakdowns. Still cried in the shower. Still woke up some days thinking, who even cares? But every time I wanted to quit, I'd go back to that notebook. And every time I felt like a failure, I'd say to myself, you're not your father's shadow. You're your mother's fire. One night, I printed out this old photo. Me, maybe 10 years old, holding a paper CEO badge my dad made for me on Take Your Kid to Work Day. I taped it to the wall next to my bed. And every night before I fell asleep, I looked at her and whispered, you deserved better. I'm gonna give it to you. And if you're still here, thank you. This is the part where it stops being a sob story. This is the part where I stopped begging for a seat at the table and decided to build my own damn table. I don't know what it was exactly. Maybe the notebook. Maybe that tiny sliver of stubbornness left in my bones. Maybe just the voice of my mom in my head whispering, you're not done. But something shifted. Like, I stopped waiting for permission. Stopped waiting for my dad to apologize. For Eli to call. For anyone to save me. No one was coming. So I got up, brushed the Dorito dust off my laptop, and started building what would become Pulsepath. First step? Figure out what the hell I was even doing. I wasn't a developer. Not a real one anyway. But I had the UX background, the behavioral science stuff, and I knew the pain so well, it practically pulsed in my veins. I started simple. Designed a dashboard. Something that could track mood trends using inputs like typing speed, missed meetings, screen time, and heart rate from smartwatches. If a person was spiraling, the system would nudge them gently. A reminder to drink water, breathe, take a break, or journal. Not in a cheesy wellness way. In a you might be dying inside and we see you way. The first prototype looked like trash. Glitchy, ugly, kinda broken. But it worked. A little. Enough to prove something. I posted about it in this small UX subreddit. Didn't even use my real name. Just built a thing that tracks emotional burnout using passive data. Wanna test it? I expected maybe 3 replies. I got 198 in 2 hours. Nurses, lawyers, startup founders, college kids, new moms, burnout teachers. Everyone was tired. Everyone was breaking. And everyone was like, can I try it? When is this launching? Can you build this into Slack? Please, I need this yesterday. And I realized this wasn't just a project. This was a lifeline. So I doubled down, pulled 18-hour days, watched YouTube coding tutorials at 2 a.m., joined free Discord dev groups, cold emailed wearable tech companies asking for access to their SDKs. Most ignored me. One said yes. That yes became my first integration partner. A tiny mental health startup that let me plug into their biometric band tech for free. I called it Pulsepath because it felt like the opposite of what my dad believed, that emotions were distractions. In my world, emotions were data. And data is power. But building was the easy part. You know what's hard? Believing in yourself when no one else does. There were nights I stared at my screen and thought, this is dumb. You're not a CEO. Who are you kidding? And then there were other nights when someone would DM me and say, your app noticed I was spiraling before I did. Thank you. And I'd cry into my keyboard and whisper, okay, one more day. I needed money. Like, real money. So I pitched. Over and over. Angel investors. Startup competitions. Cold emails with subject lines like, burnout detection that actually works. Built from pain, not profit. Most ignored me. Some replied with, this is too niche. Or worse, you seem a little emotionally involved. Are you stable enough to lead a company? I laughed, because if only they knew why it worked. If only they knew how many nights I built it with my rent overdue and a pit in my stomach the size of a canyon. But one day, I got an email back from a woman named Priya, a former ER nurse turned angel investor. She said, I burned out in 2018 and no one noticed. Not even me. I want in. She cut me my first check, $15,000. Just enough to keep the lights on and get the beta live. The first official launch? Messy. The server crashed. 3 users couldn't log in. Someone emailed me just to say, why does this look like it was built in 2004? But 89 users signed up that week. By month 2? 400. Month 4? 2,000. And then, like magic, companies started calling. Small ones at first. A therapy collective. A nonprofit for caseworkers. Then a tech startup with 70 employees. Then 2 hospitals. They all said the same thing. Our people are breaking. We didn't know how bad it was until your tool showed us. And me? I finally felt seen. Not for what I was trying to be, but for who I was. The girl who cared too much. The girl who cried in bathrooms and never fit the mold. The girl who built a mirror for people like her, so they'd know when they were slipping and maybe, just maybe, they wouldn't fall. As far as I did. And the craziest part? It worked. PulseBath wasn't just a survival project anymore. It was a company. With clients. With funding. With meaning. And the day I looked at our user map, with dots blinking in 17 different countries, I laughed out loud and whispered. He said emotions don't scale. Look at this. And this? This is where the glow-up started. Quietly. Secretly. Without permission or validation. Because sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't loud. It's silent success. The kind where you don't say a word. You just let them notice. So yeah, PulseBath was growing. Not viral. Not on the front page of TechCrunch or whatever. But growing. Steadily. Like a fire underneath everything my family thought I was too emotional to build. And the best part? My dad had no idea. Because I wasn't posting about it. No LinkedIn flexing. No Instagram story updates. No CEO life selfies. Just me, behind a screen, building something that actually mattered. I went ghost on the world, but alive in my purpose. I remember this one moment so clearly. I was on a Zoom call with a group of ICU nurses. They were piloting PulseBath in their hospital. One of them, Maria, said, "Your app pinged me the night before I had a panic attack. It told me to rest." I ignored it, but it was right. Nothing else I've used has ever seen me like that. I had to turn off my camera because I was full-on sobbing. That's what I built this for. Not to prove something to my dad, but to protect the version of me that broke in silence. To help other people catch the fall before they hit the bottom. But let's talk about the weirdest twist. Guess who started circling my orbit again? Eli. Yep, baby brother. Condo owning, trust inheriting Eli. He DM'd me one night like, "Hey, heard from someone at Stanford you're working on a startup? Didn't know you were still in tech." That's cool. I didn't answer. Not because I hate him, but because I finally understood something. He never chose me. He chose comfort. He chose silence. And I wasn't available for that version of support anymore. What really shook me, though, was when I got an anonymous email from someone inside my dad's company. No subject line. Just one sentence. "He's trying to develop something similar to PulseBath. They're calling it CoreSense." I literally laughed. CoreSense? Really? It was like watching someone try to copy your homework after calling you dumb the whole semester. But I kept my cool because I knew something he didn't. I had the users, the empathy, the real-life pain behind the product. And you can't fake that. You can't AI your way into care. Still, I stayed quiet. For now, I knew my moment was coming, and I didn't want it to be petty. I wanted it to be surgical. So while he was throwing money at consultants to build a knockoff, I was scaling, reinvesting every dollar, hiring engineers who'd been laid off from big-name companies, partnering with mental health orgs in 5 countries. I even got invited to speak at a virtual wellness summit, 10,000 attendees, keynote panel, and they listed me as founder of PulseBath, one of the fastest-growing emotional AI platforms in healthcare. And right under my name, my dad's company, their head of wellness strategy, a guy I knew had stolen half his pitch deck from my old research papers. I smiled, kept my camera off, and outperformed him on every answer. And the chat? They noticed. My inbox blew up after that. VCs, hospitals, educators. Even a freaking astronaut DM'd me saying PulseBath helped her through post-mission depression. And then, it happened. The call. A major VC firm, the one that funds companies like Notion and Calm. They wanted to acquire a few companies under a wellness tech umbrella. My dad's company was on the list. And guess who they wanted to lead the integration? Me. I thought it was a joke at first. Like, there's no way. The universe isn't that ironic, right? But nope. They were serious. They said, "We've been watching your growth. You've built something real. And honestly, the emotional intelligence your platform has, that's what his company is missing." So they offered me two things. 1, a lead role in the acquisition. 2, and full operational control post-merger. Basically, I would own the company that fired me. That said, I was too emotional. That threw me away. I didn't accept right away. I sat with it for days because I didn't want revenge for revenge's sake. I wanted closure, power, peace, and more than that, I wanted to walk into that boardroom, look him in the eye, and not need his approval at all. And yeah, it's time. This is the part where he finds out. The truth, the twist, the moment I'd secretly been waiting for. Even though I told myself I was over it, I wasn't. So the deal was moving fast. The VC firm had finalized negotiations. My dad's company, the same one that fired me, erased me, forgot me, was about to be absorbed under a new wellness tech umbrella. They scheduled a board meeting. Closed door. Executive team only. The plan was to introduce the acquisition lead in person, aka me, but no one told him. They kept my name off the documents until the final reveal. And I didn't ask them to do that. They offered, because they knew. They'd seen the numbers, the timeline, the IP. They knew I built PulsePath from nothing, while his company slowly choked on ego and outdated systems. The night before the meeting, I didn't sleep, not because I was nervous, because I was angry. Angry that I still wanted him to see me. Angry that some little kid inside of me still hoped he'd say, "I was wrong. You were right. I'm proud of you." I hated that I still cared. But I got up, put on my mom's gold necklace, tied my curls back, and walked into that building like I'd always belonged there. The same lobby where I used to wait for hours as a kid, swinging my legs and doodling on post-it notes. Now, my heels echoed on the tile like I owned it. Because I did. I stepped into the boardroom. 11 execs. One long glass table. Bottled water, notepads, everyone on edge. And then he walked in. My father. Rajiv. Older. Grayer. Same posture, like he carried the entire company on his spine. He didn't even glance at me. He walked right past, sat down at the head of the table, adjusted his blazer like he still ran things. The VC lead stood up. "Before we begin, we'd like to introduce the woman who'll be taking point on this transition. She's the founder of PulsePath, the emotional AI platform you've tried to replicate unsuccessfully. She understands your product, your market, and your blind spots." Then he turned to me and smiled. "Jasmine, would you like to begin?" My dad's head snapped up. He blinked twice, then stared like he was trying to solve a puzzle that didn't make sense. I stepped forward, opened the folder, and said, "It's nice to see you again, Rajiv." His jaw clenched. He looked around the room, like maybe this was a prank. Like maybe someone was gonna say, "Just kidding. It's a mock pitch." But no one said anything. They were waiting for me. So I laid it all out. The growth, the metrics, the user retention, the case studies from hospitals and corporations, the success of PulsePath versus the failure of his rushed knockoff, CoreSense. "You built something incredible 20 years ago," I told him. "But you refused to evolve. You fired your own daughter for being too emotional. And now, emotional intelligence is exactly what's saving this industry." He still hadn't said a word. Finally, he spoke. Soft, flat, controlled. "This is personal for you." And I said, "It was. But now? It's just business." Dead silence. He looked at the other board members, his friends, his allies, and realized something terrifying. They weren't looking at him anymore. They were looking at me. The VC firm handed him the official transfer packet. His shares were being bought out. His role was over. He wasn't just being replaced. He was being acquired by the person he discarded. And when he opened the last page, saw my name listed as majority shareholder of the new parent company, his hand actually trembled. "You've been planning this?" he asked. And I smiled. "Not planning. Building." He didn't yell. He didn't beg. He just sat there, quiet, like everything finally clicked. The ideas I pitched that he dismissed? Mine. The product he tried to copy? Mine. The app saving thousands of people from burnout? Mine. And the company he thought would always be his? Now mine too. After the meeting, he didn't even look back. Just walked out. No apology. No acknowledgement. Just silence. And weirdly, that silence? Healing. Because for the first time in my life, I didn't need anything from him. Not approval. Not closure. Not love. I had me. And this is where everything flipped. No more proving myself. No more tiptoeing. No more waiting to be invited in. This was my story now. My company. My rules. My power. After the acquisition went public, everything happened fast. The tech press? They went wild. Not just because of the deal, but because of the story behind it. They called it the comeback of the year. The daughter they underestimated. The emotional founder who beat the system. I didn't even have to say anything. The narrative wrote itself. And still, I kept it classy. No subtweets. No, look who's crying now, TikToks. Just silence. Because power doesn't yell. It moves. First order of business? Restructure the company that fired me. Hard reset. I reviewed every department, talked to every team, figured out where things were broken and why. And honestly, some of the people wanted change. They were exhausted, tired of old school leadership, tired of being told to suck it up when they were burning out. So I gave them a choice. We're building something better. A culture that respects boundaries. That tracks emotional health the same way we track profits. Stay if you're in. Step aside if you're not. Most stayed. Some didn't. I didn't beg. And then I walked back into my old office. The one they escorted me out of. The one where they made me feel like a problem. A disappointment. A mistake. I stepped inside, closed the door, sat in the chair, and just exhaled. I wasn't that girl anymore. The one who needed their approval. The one who cried in her car outside this building. The one who begged to be heard. She died the day they locked her out. The woman sitting here now? She owned the whole damn floor. A week later, we had our first all hands under my leadership. I stood on stage in the company's main auditorium. The same one where my idea was once stolen and used against me. This time, there were no stolen slides. No forced smiles. Just truth. I said, I was told I was too emotional. That my heart made me weak. But emotions are not liabilities. They are intelligence. They are data. They are human. And from this day forward, no one in this company will be punished for caring. The room went still. Then someone clapped. Then more. Until it became a standing ovation. I don't cry in public much anymore. But that day, I let one fall. Because it wasn't just for me. It was for every version of me. They tried to erase. And my dad? I haven't seen him since the handoff. But word got back to me. He's consulting somewhere. Quiet. Low profile. Do I hate him? No. Do I forgive him? Not fully. But I've let go of the need for him to get it. Because I get it. I know who I am. I know what I've built. And I know who tried to stop me and failed. I changed my email signature from Jasmine Meta Founder to Jasmine Meta CEO plus Emotional Architect. Because yeah, I design with feeling. I lead with heart. And that's what saved me. That's what makes PulsePath work. I'm not perfect. Some days, I still doubt myself. Some nights, I still hear his voice in my head, telling me I'm too much. But now I have my own voice to answer back. I'm not too much. I was never too much. I was just too real for you to handle. And yeah, this is the part you've been waiting for. The part where everything clicks. Where justice shows up, not with fireworks, but with quiet, undeniable presence. This wasn't revenge with fists. This was revenge with freedom. So let me tell you about the day the final shift happened. It was 3 months after the acquisition. PulsePath was thriving. We just signed our biggest hospital client yet. We launched new features, real-time emotional feedback tools for hybrid teams. And then, we got invited to present at ThriveCon. You don't know ThriveCon? It's the conference for workplace wellness and human-centered tech. It's where my dad always wanted to be. He applied twice. Never got in. This year, they asked me to keynote. Not as a founder. Not as a woman in tech. Not as a redemption story. As the expert. I stood backstage in my all-black suit, holding a tiny note card with 5 bullet points. Nothing fancy. Just reminders. Speak from truth. Don't flinch. You're not that girl anymore. Lead with grace. Smile when it lands. I walked on stage. Lights hit. Crowd quieted. And I told my story. Not the sanitized version. The real one. About the breakdowns. About being called too emotional. About being locked out, erased, dismissed. And about how that same emotion is now saving thousands of lives a day. I finished the talk, looked out at the crowd, and you know who I saw? Him. My dad. Row 6. Alone. Arms crossed. No expression. We locked eyes. For a second, I froze. Old instincts flared up. Stand straighter. Don't stutter. Make him proud. And then I caught myself. I smiled. Not for him. For me. And I turned back to the audience and said, for anyone who has ever told you're too emotional to lead, just remember, the people who said that are usually the ones too scared to feel anything at all. The applause was instant. Long. Loud. Not for drama. Not for pity. But because they knew. They'd been dismissed too. They'd been called too much. And they saw what it looked like to rise anyway. Afterward, I was standing by the stage exit, talking to some press folks. When someone tapped my shoulder, I turned. It was him. My dad. We stood there. Two people with too much history and not enough words. He looked small, not weak, just humbled. He opened his mouth, then closed it. Finally, he said, you built something I never could. I didn't blink. He kept going. I was wrong. About you. About emotions. About a lot. And listen, it didn't fix everything. Didn't erase the years, the pain, the silence. But it was something. So I nodded and said, yeah, you were. And then? I walked away. Not because I was angry. Not because I wanted him to suffer. But because I didn't need anything else. I already had the justice. Not from his apology, but from my peace. Real justice isn't loud. It's not slamming doors or yelling in someone's face. Real justice is looking the person who broke you in the eye and realizing they can't touch you anymore. Real justice is rising without bitterness. Healing without permission, winning, and not needing anyone to clap for it. My therapist once said, you don't need revenge, you need relief. And she was right, because this wasn't revenge. This was release. And if you've made it this far, thank you. Really, because this wasn't just a story. This was my life, my breakdowns, my bruises, my comeback. And now it's yours too, if you want it. You know what I think about most? Not the boardroom, not the takeover. Not even my dad's face when he realized who he lost. I think about that girl, the one sitting on the floor in a cheap apartment, holding her mom's scarf, wondering if she'd ever feel whole again. I wish I could go back to her. Just kneel down beside her and whisper, it's going to hurt longer than it should. You're going to lose people you thought would love you forever. But one day, your pain becomes your blueprint. And everything they said was too much? That's the magic. I'm not healed. Not all the way. But I'm healing. And sometimes that's enough. Some days I still second guess. Still flinch when someone raises their voice. Still feel 15 again, sitting in the back of a meeting room, wondering if anyone sees me. But then I remember. I see me. I built something from scratch. From grief. From rage. From hope. From late-night ramen and early morning panic attacks. And I get messages now from people saying, your app saved me. Your story gave me a push. I didn't know I could still try. And that's why I shared all of this. Not for clout, not for drama, but for you. If you're watching this on your phone right now, curled up on the couch or hiding in the bathroom on your lunch break, I see you. If you're the one who always takes the high road but secretly wants to scream, I get it. If you've been told you're too emotional, too much, too intense, too sensitive, congratulations. You are exactly enough. And your story? It's not over. So here's what I want you to do. Drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. Share this with someone who needs to hear it.